believe in you.
I don't think that we had to turn in the consent form just because we already did.
He didn't say anything. So
He didn't say anything to me either.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't turn it in?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't either.
I left him a note that said, I don't have it. I don't think I'm going to get it to you. He was like, all right. I was like, okay. It's fine. All right.
I mean, it's not like it's a new group, so you already
Yeah.
signed or
Yeah, the consent should hold.
already signed it.
Yeah, should hold. Okay. Are we ready?
What is it, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, Cameron.
Yeah.
If you don't know already, I'm Brian. I'm an undergraduate student learning helping skills. We have 20 minutes to talk today. After our session, we will complete some measures and review the tape. Everything we talk about today will be kept confidential. There's only a few exceptions to this. If you express thoughts about hurting yourself or someone else, or if you mention any childhood physical or sexual abuse. Do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. So just as a brief summary, our last two sessions, but particularly the last one, we talked about how your nighttime anxiety improved. I believe we were talking about, you had anxiety and a little bit of fear going to sleep, but it improved. You instituted a new routine where you would go out, check the doors, pet your dog,
Yeah.
right? And I think you made really good progress with that. And also, we talked about a little bit of an interpersonal conflict that you had. It was with a former roommate, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. And just you had, feelings of anger, frustration, and you had maybe a little bit of a tendency to avoid confrontation. Does that sound right?
That sounds very right.
Right. So what would you like to talk about today?
So I guess we could go with the same friend.
Okay.
And it's kind of going back to like the very beginning of our sessions where we talked about, like nervous about the future and like just very just stressed out.
Right.
So this same friend has such an easy breezy life. Everything gets handed to her. So I guess I'm kind of like a little jealous of her
Mm-hmm.
almost that she's already home for the semester, like for the winter break.
Right.
And
Right.
my schedule's just so busy.
Are these feelings of jealousy, is it like a new thing, or have you felt these feelings of jealousy towards her in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess like our whole 4 years here, she's she's going to be an elementary school teacher.
Sure.
So her life is easy
Right.
at school. She just breezes through classes, doesn't have a lot of stressors, and here I am like freaking out.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Wait, I'm home. Like I'm just done." I'm like, "Okay."
Right. So are you still speaking to this former roommate?
Here and there, we don't really talk as much. I've kind of tried to distance myself, but it'll be like a few interactions.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, you said you shared some of the same friend group, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's still like some limited interactions, right? So like when you're saying jealousy, I know with some people, jealousy manifests in different ways. Sometimes it's outward with anger, direct outward anger, or sometimes it's more of like an inward feeling. How do you express your jealousy in this situation?
I don't say anything to her
Right.
per se. I kind of I vent to my boyfriend and I'm like, "Oh, I wish my life was as easy.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't have anything to worry about.
Right.
That I was just home hanging out because I didn't have to do anything or have any obligations."
Right. Question. Now, what's the proof? I guess what I'm asking here is, so the information that you're receiving from your former roommate, frenemy, would be that, she has no obligation and she lives a carefree life.
Mhm.
But that's the information, that she's giving you, I guess. And what I'm trying to get at is, do you think that there's a possibility that, she does have these stresses and she's just not letting them onto you?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that she has stressors. I think everybody does to
Sure.
it, like a degree or whatever.
Right.
Maybe she just doesn't talk about them as much. I know she fights with her boyfriend a lot, so that kind of stresses her out. But it just seems like besides that, like her parents hand her everything and she just like goes through life without having, I don't know, any responsibility, I guess.
Sure. Let's get back to you. So like when this jealousy manifests, is there like a pattern? Is there any specific time is it directly after meeting, like, or hearing from her, or is it just like randomly pop up for you?
Sometimes it does randomly pop up.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm like gone all day long and I'm just busy all day, I think about how she's sitting at her apartment, not doing anything, and she'll like make comments like, "Oh, I have to sit at my apartment all day." I'm like, you get to sit at your apartment all day. I have to go do all these other things. Like, it would be nice to have days off during the week. Obviously, that's not realistic for everybody.
Right. So, after these periods of, anger that's prompted by this jealousy, or just, you're venting to your boyfriend, does it linger at all? Or is it something, that just is momentary, passes?
Sometimes it does linger. Yesterday, or no, what day was it? It was Tuesday. It definitely lingered because I wanted to see where she was, if she was still at school. And she was home, and I had texted her, like, "Oh, are you home for the week?" And she was like, "Yeah, like, I don't have to be here." So then that day, it just kind of made me angry because I'm like, I have all these things to do before finals, and then finals next week, and it's just so hectic and busy. So then I just was like thinking about, like, wow, I should have gone down that path.
Right. Well, especially this time of the year for a student, it's a very stressful time, and it can bring in other unwanted emotions or put you more on edge. Some things might set you off a little bit more than they would in the past, So I guess, I'm trying to think of, so when you speak to her and these feelings, these, there's like that impetus, this first feeling of like, jealousy or anger, or after a while, like, you get angry, you're sitting at home and you're thinking, like, you're writing a paper and you're thinking, oh, she's just scrolling on TikTok right now, and you feel anger, and those feelings are valid, because, they're yours, like you feel them, like they're real, so like, I'm trying to think, are there any other direct, not to use I don't want to use a negative connotation with the word consequences, but are there any other like downstream effects of this jealousy? Like, does it interfere with other relationships, like, or anything like that?
Not really.
Okay.
I guess like a lot of my friends back home don't really have a lot going on either.
Right.
Like, there's not like a really big college back at home. So a lot of them, if they didn't go to school, they're just working. So I kind of see that too. And I'm like, oh, some people are starting their lives right now. And that kind of makes me a little jealous too, because I'm like, I still have so much more school to do.
Right.
But I don't really think so. I don't know, more just so because I'm around her all the time, and I was for years.
So there's definitely like a certain, like, more involved. Like, it's not someone, and plus you still have to, be around her because of your friend group. You mentioned earlier that you vent to your boyfriend about this sometimes. What's his reaction to you?
He's a guy. He doesn't really, I don't really think he knows what to say.
Right.
He's just like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, now I'll be like, my events, I'll be like, oh, if she could only do my major for one day, like, she could never survive. Like, just because she's had it so easy.
Right. Well, I think this is an opportunity to really, you send that, you're jealous of your other friends back home and they're starting their lives. I think it's, a good thing to celebrate yourself because like you are starting your life. Let's be honest, because you're putting in the work, you're doing all this work. And like, while like, all this hard work that you're doing right now, and you like compare it to someone that may not be working as hard, or may have it easier, or whatever. But the fact is that you're putting in the action, you're putting in the effort now,
Yeah.
and you know, it's been my experience that when you take the action, you get the reward. Not always, but you take the action, you get the reward.
Yeah, a lot of people, I guess especially like my boyfriend and my dad, they're like, she's not gonna be making a lot of money coming out of college or like for a very long time.
Right.
And when I go back to school, there is a chance that I can make a lot more money. So I do try to tell myself like I will get there, but right now it's just I'm frustrating and annoying.
Right. Oh, goodness. Yeah. I mean, like right now, like you are at the tail end. We're at the top of the mountain, so to speak. And like all this work and all this effort that you've put in. And then it's crunch time. It's
Yeah.
finals week, and or coming up next week will be finals week, and then I believe you said you will graduate over the summer,
Mhm.
correct? Yeah. So like this is, there's certainly a reason for reflection. So we're gonna go back to this jealousy. Has there ever been a point in the past? Have you noticed this? Is this a new thing, or has this ever happened in the past?
With this particular friend or in general?
In general, or with this particular friend?
I don't really, honestly, I really don't think with anybody else. I know a lot of my friends that are in school. They're going for harder things and they're pretty busy with school. My one friend, she's a mom and she's going to school and working, so she's her played school.
Right.
But I just think like the past couple of years, we lived together freshman year
Yeah.
and then sophomore year. And then that was whenever we
Mhm.
kind of split up. But in the 2 years that we were living together, like she just kind of cheated her way through like her tests and everything.
Right.
And I'm like, if you actually had to study, like how would you do? Like how would you actually do compared to just cheating your way and getting A's?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Use the word compare. So, when you're thinking about this roommate and you're thinking, on one hand, like she's just floated through college, her family hands her everything, she cheats, she just gets to lay around and do whatever, school TikTok, watch Netflix. Whereas you're very hardworking. You work at the psychology department. You're earning your grades. You're earning all this, um, it sounds like to me, that you are comparing yourself to her.
Yeah, I don't like to, but I think not like lifestyle because I don't want everything handed to me. Like I'm
Right.
thankful that my parents don't just give me their credit card for gas.
Right.
But like during school, I definitely am. Like
Yeah.
she has really high grades and I have good grades, but they're not as good because I'm actually working to
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
do them.
And it sounds to me that this comparison, to her is causing, a bit of anger or just, a bit of conflict. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, like, let me ask you this, would you prefer to, work on this comparison? Like, I guess what I'm saying here is that, like, ultimately, who's keeping score here? Is she or is you? Or
I
you? Yeah. And is it serving you? No.
No, it's definitely hurting me.
Yeah. So I guess I'm trying to think, all right, well, maybe we'll work backwards here. What would be to solve this conflict? What would be the ideal result? Like if you could snap your fingers, and I guess I can't snap very well. If you could snap your fingers and this problem would be solved, what does it look like at the end?
I think just like graduation and like getting a real job and just the end goal.
Mhm.
Like I guess the aftermath after school.
Mhm.
I think then I would be happy. Like, okay,
Right.
not happy. I think I think I wouldn't think about it as much.
Yeah.
Because we'd be done with school,
Right.
and I'd have my own job, and we probably wouldn't see each other as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I apologize. I should have clarified more in the here and now. Like if tomorrow, if a genie came and gave you a wish, and this would be over with this conflict with her, what would it look like tomorrow for you?
Probably just us not really being friends or talking.
Okay.
Like if I woke up tomorrow and I didn't have to see her, I think I could talk to her, which I could do.
Yeah.
It would just make things a little awkward whenever it came to all of us hanging out.
Right. So I guess what are some actionable steps here? Because like it doesn't sound right now that it's realistic that you could just turn your back, cut her off as a person. So like, what are some goals that we could put in place? Maybe to limit this jealousy. Like we're not going to wipe the slate. There's history, and that's going to take time. So like, what are some goals we could activate in order to help you get to a point of not indifference, but where this doesn't bother you as much, and hopefully someday it doesn't bother you at all. So like, what are some goals we could do here?
I would say like little by little, not talking to her as much.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Like I could tell my boyfriend like, oh, I don't want to be around them as much. Like maybe like distance ourselves just like a little bit. Like
Right.
not because her boyfriend and my boyfriend, they're like best friends,
Mhm.
so they're always together.
Right.
So it's inevitable that we see each other, and
Right.
then she's always like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" So
In the past, you mentioned it seems to be you have a difficult time sometimes, being assertive or being heard, correct? Maybe, when it comes to your boyfriend, and because he is friends with her boyfriend, very close with her boyfriend, maybe there's a way, you can be assertive and communicate to your boyfriend in a way that he'll understand that, like, hey, maybe you two just hang out,
yeah.
right? So out of the options that we've talked about, what do you think? What's the most realistic? Like, what's the one that you think you can do? Like talking to her less, or maybe some sort of combination.
Yeah, definitely being a combination. I already don't let her into my life as much
Right.
as I used to,
Okay.
just because I don't like things being thrown in my face.
Right.
So I would say like maybe even less contact. We did that one summer. We really didn't hang out, and she threw a fit, but I was like, I can't do this
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
And I think if I told my boyfriend like, like maybe you guys could go do your thing, and I'll hang out with different friends,
Yeah.
or if we do have to see each other, like not make it as
Yeah.
often.
Well, and it sounds like it's a work in progress here. And honestly, it sounds that progress has been made, from where you were 4 years ago, where you were living with her. It seems like the problematic issues have been less and less. And again, you're making progress. You are taking the steps. So I know we're not going to meet next week, but I would like for you to, try and integrate these steps into your life. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I don't think so. I think that's great advice.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
What?
What?
I don't think I can do that. I don't think
No,
I'll do
I
it.
know. I was just, I'm like, she gave me the 5-minute warning. I'm like, damn it. This is